Hi, Mark from Sound Matters here. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to go through a demonstration of how to install a cartridge on a headshell, and this is for an S-shaped tone arm, so kind of a Technic style turntable. So one of the great things about S-shaped tone arms with headshells like this is that we can essentially have many different cartridges ready to go, almost plug and play, apart from the fact that we may have to adjust slightly for VTA and also the tracking force as well. So, but what we're going to do is demonstrate just how to install one of these things and how to align it. So, first of all, things that you will need. So you will need some ear nose pliers, like these, and you will also need a set of calipers, or there is a tool that you can use, an overhang tool that sometimes comes supplied with turntables as well. I know some Technics decks come with an overhang gauge, is what they call it, and we're going to use this to measure the overhang of, and how, the distance essentially that the cartridge needs to be from the end of this point on the head shell to where the stylus tip is. But so if you don't have a stylus gauge that ships with your turntable, some of them do, some of them don't, then a pair of calipers like these will work perfectly. So we're also going to need a precision screwdriver, of course, something like this. This actually came supplied with an Autofon cartridge of mine. And of course we're going to need a head shell like this. Please forgive the ridiculous branding on this one. It's a cheap Chinese one. Some of the nicer head shells at the moment are proving hard to get hold of, so as soon as I can replace this one with a nicer one, I will. I say some of the cables here probably aren't as good as it would be if it was, say, a Technics head shell or an Autofon head shell or something like that. But anyway, for the purpose of this demonstration, it's fine. It's kind of a knockoff of a Technics style head shell. Right, so to start with, we're going to take our head shell and we're going to take the cartridge and we're going to install it in the furthest possible end away from the cable. So over to this end, we're going to temporarily put it here so that we have more room to maneuver the cables. Now, depending on how your cartridge design and how comfortable you feel, you may wish to remove the stylus entirely for this process, just to avoid risk of damage. I've still got the stylus guard on here, so I'm going to go ahead and just go and install this. But yeah, I mean, that stylus guard is pretty strong. So, but depending on how comfortable you feel, you may want to remove that if you feel that that's safer. But anyway, we're going to take our cartridge here and I will install these. So I may just fast forward this little bit whilst I do the fiddly process of screwing it in. Right, so that cartridge is now temporarily at the end of the head shell. We now have the fun and fiddly bit of installing the cables. Now, this is a pretty simple process, really, made particularly simple by the fact that, if you can see here, everything's color coded. So yeah, we've got green, we've got blue, we've got red, and we've got white, and that corresponds. Almost all of them are labelled with colours on the actual cartridge themselves, apart from the green one. But process of elimination, you should be able to see exactly where everything should go. So you want to take your pliers now, and I would start in this top right hand corner here and gently push them in. Again, you will feel them click into place. You want to be careful not to destroy the cable in the process, of course. And you want to push them just enough so that they're securely in. You'll kind of feel them click into place. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit whilst I install the rest of them. Right, so with the cables installed, we're now going to have to set the overhang. So the overhang for my particular turntable is specified as 52 millimeters. So overhang being the distance that the stylus tip is from the spindle. So the distance from, if you hang this over, if you hang the if it was on the turntable and it was on the tone arm and you were to hang it over the spindle, then the overhang, the distance between the turntable spindle and the stylus, should be 52 millimeters. But you should check your specific turntable manual to get the correct distance for your installation. So yes, with this in place, we're just going to have to loosen these screws a little bit, just enough that we can maneuver it and get the overhang set correctly. And we're going to use our calipers set to 52 millimeters in order to actually do this and check the distance. Now, if you were to get one of the Technics overhang measuring tools, it would actually make this process quite a lot easier, because as I have discovered using calipers, you change the distance when you go from here to here. So it does make it relatively easier with one of those Technics overhang tools, in that it kind of loops on here and then comes down here. I've struggled to get hold of one at the moment in terms of the availability, but I will put a link in the description below as to where you might be able to find one. But you can use calipers, works perfectly well as well, but it may take you a little longer to get there. So we need to check this distance, and the stylus tip needs to be, as I say, 52 millimeters. So I'm going to speed this up as I do it, and because I'm trying to get this as accurate as possible, but what I will do is use a stylus protractor to double check this afterwards. So most turntable manufacturers from Japan, sort of, Technics and the like, use the Stevenson gauge. We can use a protractor of your choice to essentially double check that we've got this aligned. But they are designed, these S-shaped tone arms with the head shells, they're designed so that the alignment will be correct when the overhang is set correctly and the cartridge is parallel on the head shell, so facing dead straight forward. As I say, I will fast forward this process because it may take me a while, and it may take me a little bit of going on and off the turntable to double check as well. But it's worth getting correct, because if it's wrong, we will get distortion. Okay, so first go, that's looking pretty good. Now we just need to make sure that the cartridge, as I say, is parallel, so that it is facing dead on straight within the head shell as well. So this may take a little bit of adjusting as well. We'll then want to double check that we haven't moved anything. It needs to come slightly this way here, so. One of the good things about the Autophone cartridges is they're relatively square at the sides, so it actually makes the process of doing this slightly easier. Just double check if something hasn't moved here. Okay, it's looking pretty good, but I'm going to put, as I say, put this on the turntable, and we're going to check it with the with the stylus protractor, just to see if that is indeed aligned. But just going to make sure these screws are nice and tight now, and we'll check it on the turntable. Right, so I've just checked that on the turntable, and it's looking pretty good actually. I'd say it was 95% there. So now, to get the best result possible, I could tweak this further. But for the purpose of demonstration as to how you do this, that's enough for today. But it is worth taking your time over alignment, and the calipers are great, but the overhang tool will just make that slightly easier and perhaps a little bit quicker for you as well. So I'll put a link in the description as to where you can get that. But if you enjoyed this content, I hope that helps you. That's just how to install a cartridge onto a headshell for an S-shaped tone arm. Specifically, this was for a Technics SL1500C, but will be relevant for any sort of similar type of turntable from Audio Technica or anybody else really that makes an S-shaped tone arm of that style. So yeah, it's a fantastic advantage of those sort of types of turntables, whereby if you have a load of different cartridges for different sounds, perhaps you have a cartridge specifically for playing mono records, or perhaps even 78s, you can easily switch that around, and all you'll then have to do, depending on the cartridge specifications, is change the VTA. So you may need to, from one model to the next, particularly if it's one manufacturer to the next, you may need to change the vertical tracking angle. So check the specifications for your cartridge and turntable for what those should be set to. Now, I'm actually only at the moment changing from one Autophon cartridge of the same range to the next, so the VTA should not need to be changed, but it is worth double checking as well that your stylus, your actual tracking weight doesn't need to be changed as well, your tracking force, because obviously from one model to the next the tracking force will change. So check your VTA settings and check your tracking force, and you're all set to go. You can pretty much plug and play, and enables you to really enjoy very specific cartridges for specific types of records, or perhaps you just want a particular sound suits a particular type of record. It could be one stereo cartridge to the next, or perhaps you want to experiment and just see how one sounds with a particular set of records next to another. It's that fantastic flexibility that you get with an S-shaped tone arm, so you can just have a whole bunch of these ready to plug and play with some minor adjustments possibly if you're moving from one manufacturer to the next. That's all we need to go through for the purpose of this demonstration. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please consider subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.